السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. قال الله تعالى في الفرقان الحميد: واعتصموا بحبل الله جميعا ولا تفرقوا. صدق الله العظيم. اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد وآله. My beautiful family of Brisbane, Allah Almighty fill our heart with His muhabbah and His ishaq. Allah grant us His closeness, His neighborhood. Allah grant each one of us, the entire ummah, His ma'rifah and His true, strong, mighty, never to break friendship. As He is our guide, Allah Almighty guide us every step of this beautiful journey that Allah Almighty has blessed us with, and allow us to reach our goal and objective, and that is to meet Allah Almighty whilst Allah Almighty is pleased with each one of us. The topic that we are going to discuss today is very close to my heart. Reason being is, and I'm going to acknowledge, in my leadership role for the last 30 years, I have made blunders. I have made many, many mistakes. And a good person is a person that can acknowledge his mistakes and he can learn from his mistakes. As we know that when Hazrat Adam alayhi salatu wasalam made a mistake, he came down very, very different than the devil. The devil was adamant that what he did was right. He was trying to prove that he was right. Hazrat Adam alayhi salatu wasalam immediately humbled himself, acknowledged that he made a mistake, and uttered the following dua: رَبَّنَا ظَلَمْنَا أَنفُسَنَا وَإِن لَمْ تَغْفِرْ لَنَا وَتَرْحَمْنَا لَنَكُونَنَّ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. And of course, those that follow the steps and the sunnat of Hazrat Adam alayhi salatu wassalam are the beloved ones. Allahumma ja'alna minhum. Allah make us from those beloved. Now the steps or the decisions that I've made in the last 30 years, especially I will say in the first 20 years, that I believe were wrong, are wrong because now I'm a bit more wiser, a bit more mature, and I can see the impact of those decisions that were made early on. I'm going to make mention of a story from the life of the Prophet of Allah, and then we're going to build upon that. The leader of the hypocrites, his name was Abdullah bin Ubay bin Salul. So what I'm going to share today is very close to my heart, and I would like you to take this home. You are very intelligent, you are students. Allah Almighty has granted you aql, intellect. Allah Almighty has given you opportunity to think. Time is at your hand. You have much time, you can contemplate and think. And I would like this talk to shift your mindset if it needs to be shifted. Because as we know that our religion is fluid. Sharia is fluid, the Quran is fluid. And one of the major problems that we are facing in scholarship, in leadership, and in following the leadership is that we are placid. We have become stagnant. We are not moving. As we know that the religion and that which has been sent down to us from which we extract religion is endless. The ocean of gems are endless. So there is no tahqiq, no research that is complete. There is more to be researched. Every topic can be revisited because the religion, the Quran and the statements of the Prophet of Allah are fluid. They are endless. The only thing that has ended is the nabuwwah of the Prophet of Allah. That Nabi Kareem Muhammad is Khatimul Anbiya, he's the final prophet. Other than that, nothing has ended. And this is very important to understand. And I'm sharing this after being an Imam for 30 years, going through this journey personally and seeing the benefits and the harms of staying placid and moving. We're not changing the religion. The religion is moving. The religion is moving. The gems are there. It is a matter of being ready to dive deeper and to pull out those gems. Now, coming to that story, Prophet Muhammad, think about it, he's such a wise person. Myself as a leader, if there's somebody in the congregation that doesn't like me, he can pretend to like me, I'll figure it out. I'll just figure it out. I know it's a fake smile. I know he doesn't really like me. And most probably my smile will be very, very similar, and he will find out that I'm faking it too. It's not very hard to figure out if somebody is sincere or not. Now, Allah Almighty gave most wisdom to Nabi Kareem Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Sahaba who had less intelligence than the Prophet of Allah, they had figured out that this group of people are hypocrites. Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam knew that they were hypocrites. And you will be surprised to know on Friday, when the Prophet of Allah used to come to deliver the khutbah, one of the people that used to stand up and say, I would like you to visualize this. The Prophet of Allah comes and he sits down in Masjid al-Nabawi, and he's going to give a talk, he's going to deliver the sermon, and a person stands up and he says, everyone be quiet. This is the last prophet, this is Prophet Muhammad, listen to him carefully. You know who that used to be? That used to be Abdullah bin Ubay bin Salul. That used to be the leader of the Munafiqun. So he used to say to the people, listen, he's the Prophet of Allah. Everyone listen. So he's noticed. The Prophet of Allah knows that this is a joker. He's a munafiq. But the Prophet of Allah didn't say anything. But how long are the Sahaba are going to tolerate this? So one day they came to the Prophet of Allah. And they said, Ya Rasulullah, you know who they are. There's no rocket science to this anymore. We know who they are. These are the munafiqun. Can we just put them to the side and take care of them? Because they're hurting us. They're damaging us. They speak ill of us. They put in boulders on our path. So can we just remove them? What did the Nabi of Allah say? The Nabi of Allah said no. Not because they don't deserve it. No. But the Nabi of Allah said no, because if we do reprimand them physically, what would people say? I would like you to understand this. What would people say? People that are not Muslims, they are looking at us, they are dissecting us. They want to know what's different here. This is a group of people that follow one person. They claim to be brothers and sisters. They claim to be united. And how are they treating their own brothers? They're expelling them. They are physically reprimanding them. So the Prophet of Allah was very, very concerned about the image of Islam. The image of Islam. If the image of Islam is to be tarnished, then the Prophet of Allah is allowed for the munafiqun to remain amongst the Muslims. I would really like you to digest this, because this is what we're going to build on from tonight and maybe even next week. So the image of Islam is very, very important. Now, keep that story in mind. The verse that I recited is verse 103 of Surah Al Imran. This and another verse is going to be the principal two verses that we're going to use to construct our talk for tonight and next week. There are three verses that are recited in Khutbah Nikah. All right. So the first verse that is recited is from Surah Al Imran, Surah number 3, verse 102. and then Surah Nisa, Surah number 4, verse number 1, and then Surah number 70, Surah Ahzab, verse number 70. Immediately after verse 102 that is recited in Khutbah Nikah, there is a verse. Now the verse in Khutbah Nikah is, O you who believe, ittaqullaha haqqa tuqati wa la tamutunna illa wa antum muslimun. O you who believe, Allah is addressing us. Fear Allah as He should be feared. And then Allah Almighty says, and die not except in a state of Islam. Done. Very, very famous. Ittaqullah. All those that are married, all those that have participated in the nikah, they would have heard the imam, the person officiating the marriage, recite this verse. Ittaqullaha haqqa tuqatih wa la tamutunna illa wa antum muslimun. Meaning that adorn yourself, beautify yourself with piety, and then die in that state. Meaning that you die as a believer. Next verse is our principal verse. And I'm going to try to unlock certain things in your mind tonight. وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ. And hold fast. You've heard this many a times. And hold fast, all of you together, جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا, to the rope of Allah Almighty, and be not divided amongst yourselves. Alright. So Allah Almighty is saying that hold on to the rope. Now there's no physical rope. So the scholars say the rope is the word of Allah and the explanation of the word of Allah that is known as the hadith. So we hold on to that. And then Allah Almighty says, as a result, وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا, do not be divided. Do not be divided. Meaning if we hold on to the rope of Allah, meaning the Quran and the teaching of the Quran, the physical explanation of the Quran, we should not be divided. Now I'm going to pose a question. Muslims all claim to follow the Quran. True? They all follow to hold the Sunnah, but are we divided? But the Quran and the Sunnah, the rope has come to unite us. But we see that the practical application of holding onto the rope in modern time, 2025, is that we have been broken. So which rope are we holding? Because Allah Almighty is saying, if you hold onto the rope, you won't be broken. But we can see we are broken. And we are more broken in this country. Reason being is that if we are from one country, one school of thought, one kind of education, there is less chance of being broken. But this is a maqluba. This is a pot of curry that has many, many spices. We are from the entire world. I was born in England, studied in Pakistan, came here. There are many that are smiling that are from the Arab countries. There are many from Africa. There are many from South Africa. There are many from Bosnia. They're from Pakistan. Everywhere. So we are different spices, different flavors of Islam, and we all come into this one big pot. In Brisbane, we've been brought up differently. We have different teachings, but we all claim to be holding onto the rope. If you ask a person that is practicing differently than you, he will say, I'm holding onto the rope. I'm holding onto the Quran. I'm not following the Bible. I'm not following the Torah. I'm following the Quran. I'm following the Prophet, not Prophet Jesus, not Prophet Moses. I'm following Prophet Muhammad. Everyone has the same claim. But there is mighty, mighty differences. And we are all divided. We are disunited. All right. Can I get a nod? Do you agree to that? So we're disunited. Maybe about 10 years ago, Imam Uzair will not go to a certain mosque and pray. I'm talking about myself. I'm not talking about you. You're good people. I'm talking about myself. Imam Uzair will not go to another mosque and he would not pray behind that Imam. No way. Just wouldn't pray. About 10 years ago, would not pray. My namaz is not accepted behind him. And that Imam may be thinking the same about me. There was a person who made an announcement that if you have prayed Jummah behind Imam Uzair, this is not true. This is true in our country, and I still believe that brother is my Muslim brother. He says that if you have prayed Jummah behind Imam Uzair, you have to repeat Jummah. Jummah is not accepted. So I from the mimbar said, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadur Rasulullah, that if I said anything that threw me out of the fold of Islam, I'm a Muslim again. But these are problems that we are facing. So now I'm going to draw your attention to the 5 departments. I want to ask you something now. This is a question. The 5 departments, the poster that came out, the 5 departments. So the first is Aqidah. Can I get a nod? Aqidah. Second department is Ibadat, rulings, worship. Third department is transactions, financial transactions. Fourth department is social ethics. Fifth department is behavior. I will really want you to digest what I'm saying, even if we speak little today, but digest it. So you don't vomit it out. Digest it. So let me say this again, the 5 departments. Aqidah, the core beliefs, the tenets of faith. In the subcontinent we call it Iman Mujmal, Iman Mufassal. Amantu billahi wa malaikatihi wa kutubihi wa rusuli, right till the end. Ibadat, worship. Third is financial transactions. We call it mu'amalat. Then social ethics, we call it mu'asharat. And then behavior, akhlaqiyat. I'm going to pose a question to you. Out of these 5 departments, which department do you think is responsible, not the department, but us, if we go into behavior, if we go into social ethics, if we go into financial transactions? Let's stop there, these last 3. Do you think scholars differ? Do you think one scholar says you can lie and the other scholar says you can't lie? Do you think one scholar says you can have riba and the other one says you can't have riba? Do you think one scholar says you can backbite and the other says you can't backbite? Or one scholar says you can make hasad and the other says you can't make hasad? These 3 departments are not the departments that fragment us. Which department is fragmenting us? It is ibadat. I want you to remember this. If imams, me, were speaking about department number 3, 4, 5, there will be less fragmentation in the Muslim Ummah. We are only speaking about department number 2, ibadat. And we're going to make mention how that happens in a few moments. These are 2 nights we have. But ibadat, entering into ibadat without the tools to navigate through this beautiful ocean of worship will be fragmented. Remember that, we will be fragmented. We will destroy our fabric. So the department that is solely responsible for the breakup of the community, where one says, I am right and you are wrong. It's not about lying, it's not about sidq, it's not about hasad, it's not about jealousy, it's not about ghiba. No. It's all about worship, rulings. All pertaining to department number 2. Can I get a nod? All right. Step by step. Allah Almighty is saying, if you hold on to the rope, then you won't be fragmented. So let's say the rope is coming down through different levels, and we are in the level of akhlaqiyat, behavior, and the rope is there and we're holding on to it. When we are holding on to the rope, when it comes to behavior, is there any difference of opinion? No. So وَلَا تَتَفَرَّقُوا, we will be united. We climb a little bit more. We're going to the 4th department. The rope is going through the 5 departments. This is another way to look at it. And we go to the 4th department, the 4th level. And that is social ethics. Holding onto the rope when it comes to the room of social ethics, are we fragmented? No. We climb a little bit more. We go a bit higher, and now we're level number 3. Level number 3 is financial transactions. Different way to look at this. Does it cause friction between us? No. But then we go up. And we go into the room of ibadat. And when we go into the room of ibadat, we start to fight. We start to fight. Our grip on the rope becomes loose. We start giving fatwas on one another. But I'm going to bring a third angle now. Have we truly entered and held the rope in akhlaqiyat? Do we even consider akhlaqiyat behavior? Or do we even consider social ethics or financial transactions to be equal to level number 2, room number 2? Do we give it the same importance? This is very important. Do we give it the same importance? So ibadat is room number 2. The importance that we give, the way we treat this department, do we treat the remaining 3 departments the same? Do we consider it equally to be in Islam? I want you to say yes or no. I know my answer. And be fair. No. Let me say for you, no. Now, second verse. Allah Almighty says, Al-yawma akmaltu lakum deenakum. How many times we've heard this verse? Al-yawma akmaltu lakum deenakum wa atmamtu alaykum ni'mati wa raditu lakum al-islam deena. So this translation of this verse is from Surah Ma'idah. Surah Ma'idah was, how many surahs are there in the Quran? How many? 114. Surah Ma'idah was the 112th surah that the Prophet of Allah received. Right at the end, 112th. In the Quran it is number 5. In the Quran it is number 5, but it is the 112th surah that the Prophet of Allah received. Which surah did the Prophet of Allah receive right at the end? Which surah is 114? Does anyone know? That the Prophet of Allah received? Yes. Surah Nas? No. إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحِ. This is the complete last surah that the Prophet of Allah received. إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحِ. But Surah Ma'idah is 112. So this is right at the end. The jigsaw puzzle is coming, and it is now the surah. The jigsaw puzzle can be seen. All the pieces have been put together. And this verse, a fragment of this entire verse is Al-yawma akmaltu. The verse is very lengthy. حُرِّمَتْ عَلَيْكُمُ الْمَيْتَةَ وَالدَّمُ وَلَحْمُ الْخِنْزِيرِ. But Al-yawma akmaltu right at the end is a fragment of the verse. It was received by the Prophet of Allah in his first and last Hajj, whilst he was given the khutbah, Hajjatul Wida, on Friday. 9th of Dhul Hijjah is Friday, after Asr, mounted on the camel. He receives this verse, Al-yawma akmaltu lakum deenakum. What does it translate as? We're going to open up a dimension today. Al-yawma akmaltu lakum deenakum. Allah Almighty says, this day, meaning the 9th of Dhul Hijjah, the day of Arafah, the day of Hajj, the one and the only Hajj that the Prophet of Allah led, this day I have preferred your religion for you, completed my favor upon you, and have chosen for you Islam as your religion. Now, I'm going to read the verse again, and I want you to extract 2 words and hold on to them. So we can get these babies to be quiet. Major playground is outside, mashallah. Jazakumullah. All right. Al-yawm, because this is a very important lesson today. Very important lesson. All right. It's not a lecture, it's a lesson today. Al-yawma akmaltu. What word did Allah use? Akmaltu. Akmaltu. Got it? Al-yawma, today, akmaltu. I have completed. Lakum, for you, deenakum, your deen. And then Allah Almighty uses another word. Wa atmamtu. Akmaltu, atmamtu. Easy way to see it. Kamil and tamam. Got the words? Kamil, tamam. We use this in Urdu as well. Ye kamil hai, ye tamam hai. This is kamil, this is tamam. But when Allah is using the word kamil and tamam for the religion, why didn't He use kamil 2 times for the religion? That I have completed the religion and I have completed Islam for you, and use the word akmaltu. He changed it. Allah says akmaltu and then He says atmamtu. So there's a difference. All right, I'm going to say it in Arabic first. All right, so you can understand, and then we'll explain it by this tawila, this table. I'm going to give an example of this table in a few moments. Kamil bi'itibari ajza. And tamam bi'itibari sifat. You got it? You're Arab, you understand that. All right. This table can be kamil, but it's not necessary that it's tamam. I'm going to confuse you. And it can be tamam, but it's not necessary that it's kamil. What does kamil mean? Kamil means that every piece that is needed to complete a table is present. That is kamil. Every piece. So I need a tabletop, I need the legs, I need the screws. If I have all the ajza, all the pieces, then that is called kamil. Al-yawma akmaltu. For the religion to be complete in terms of pieces, Allah Almighty says it is kamil. There is no piece of guidance that is left, because this book is a book of guidance. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ Huda. It is a guidance book. Every piece of guidance that is needed till the day of judgment, those pieces are in the Quran. There's no piece missing. Even if it is a small screw of guidance, no. It is there. But there's another word that is used, tamam. Now, tamam means that every piece that has been used is the best piece. So there's no better screw that has been used on this table in the world other than this screw. This is the best screw in the world. This is the best tabletop in the world. That is tamam. So Allah Almighty is saying the Quran is kamil, complete in terms of pieces. And then tamam means that all the pieces that have been used, they are the best pieces. There are no better pieces than them in the world. That is the Quran. That is the message. That's why Allah Almighty says, have you heard that before? You can say no, at least. Don't pretend you knew. So Allah Almighty is saying that the Quran is kamil and the Quran is tamam. We're going to all link this up. Ooh, haven't started yet. Kamil and tamam. You got that? But kamil and tamam. Bi'i'tibar, they call it bi'i'tibari ajza wa bi'i'tibari sifat. I'll give you an example. Previous nations, they had prayers, but they didn't have a kamil prayer. You will know that some nations, they used to only stand and pray. What do the Jews do? Their entire prayer is qiyam. No ruku, no sajda. They don't do sajda. So they are missing a part of prayer. So it can't be kamil because they're missing a piece of prayer. If we look at Islam, it is kamil because every possible posture of humility through which a person can speak to Allah Almighty has been placed in the prayer. If you look at it, the only possible posture that is missing the prayer is this one. So we can't say, Ya Allah, tahiyatu lillahi wa salawatu wa tayyib. It's not going to work. Because it's not a posture of humility. Because the prayer is basically humility. If you look at it, all possible postures of humility have been added in the one prayer. That is kamil. And then to adorn the prayer, the sifat of each posture is the best. You can't get better than that. Surah Fatiha, Subhana Rabbiyal Azim, Subhana Rabbiyal Ala, At-Tahiyyatu Lillah, that originated in the heavens, in Laylatul Isra wal Mi'raj, even what we say inside. And this is not only about prayer, it's about everything. It's about everything. Can I get a nod? All right, now. So we got a beautiful religion. The religion is Kamil and Tamam. It is fluid. Allah says in verse 103 of Surah Ali Imran that if you are holding on to this beautiful Kamil, Tamam, fluid religion, meaning that rope, وَلَا تَتَفَرَّقُوا, you should not be divided, but we're divided. We're disunited. Not too bad in Australia, but in Muslim countries, one imam in one mosque is saying he's a kafir. Ooh. They're both saying, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. He's saying he's a kafir, he's saying he's a kafir. Oh, it just goes on and on and on and on. So now we need to break this up. Why? We have identified the problem is rulings. Rulings have given us a shallow understanding of the religion. So we're going to try to understand how rulings develop and how we can stay with time in terms of rulings. And this is not something that is new. Think about it. Prophet Muhammad just left this world. Just left this world. Khulafai Rashidun, we hear about it. Khulafai Rashidun. Hazrat Huzaifa bin Yaman, we've heard this many times. He goes to Armenia. Think about it, he goes to Armenia. Who are the teachers right now in the world? The Sahaba, who have directly seen the Prophet of Allah do things, and they are recording it in their brain, in their mind, and then they are relating it to humanity. Sahaba of the caliber of Hazrat Huzaifa bin Yaman, who is known as Sahib Sir, the secret keeper of the Prophet of Allah, he goes to Armenia for an expedition. So the people that he speaks about on his return are tabi'een. And in Jumu'ah, what does the Imam say? Khairul quruni karni summa alladhina yalunahum summa alladhina yalunahum. The best time is my time, the time of the Sahaba. Then the time that is attached to the Sahaba. Then the time that is attached to the time that is attached to the Sahaba. Best 3 times. This is the time, the group of people that is attached to the Prophet of Allah's companions. They're fighting. They're fighting. What are they fighting over? So we're not new to this. This boxing match regarding halals and harams has been going on for a long time. The ring has always been there. The tabi'een are fighting. One is saying that the Quran that you're reading is not Quran. Poof. The other one is saying the Quran that you're reading is not the Quran. What? So for example, he reads the Quran, he's a Muslim, he's reading the Quran and he says, وَالضُّحَى, not وَالضُّحَى, وَالضُّحَى. He goes, what's this وَالضُّحَى? My teacher, Sahabi, he taught me وَالضُّحَى. I've never heard this وَالضُّحَى. He said, what are you talking about? My teacher who's a Sahabi, he taught me وَالضُّحَى. Nah, that can't be. The Quran is one, it's final, it can't be like this. And they start fighting. He has learned Quran from a Sahabi. Sahabi has learned from the Prophet of Allah directly. He claims he has learned the Quran from a Sahabi. And the Sahabi has learned the Quran directly from the Prophet of Allah. The source is one, Nabi Akrim Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The students of the Prophet of Allah, they are fighting because they have not heard that dialect in their life. True? So this happens in the time of Hazrat Usman Ghani, 3rd Caliph of Islam, not Abu Bakr Siddiq. So now they come to Hazrat Usman Ghani. Hazrat Usman Ghani, we have to do something about this. Both are right, and I want you to remember this. Both are right, but the knowledge is shallow. I want you to hold on to that word. The knowledge is shallow. He thinks he's right and he thinks he's right. He thinks he's wrong. He thinks he's wrong because he has been taught in this way. He has been taught in this way. Both are right, but now this is causing problem. Flexibility in the recital of the Quran, different dialects, is causing problem. The flexibility in the reading of the Quran, that was flexibility, has caused problem. Because knowledge is shallow. They don't have the tools to benefit from that which was flexible. You know where I'm going with this in a minute. You can understand what I'm saying. This is causing problem. That's why Hazrat Usman Ghani, the Quran was compiled in the time of Abu Bakr Siddiq. The 114 surahs from Alif Lam Mim, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, Alif Lam Mim to Wan Nas, it was put together in the time of Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq, but the different dialects were still in that one Quran. Removed all those dialects and made it one dialect. Because it was causing problem. The flexibility that Allah gave was removed because it was causing problem. But why did it cause problem? Because the people did not have the tools and the understanding and the depth of knowledge. Now, do you think that the different dialects have died? No. They still exist. And they will exist till the day of judgment because the Quran came down on those different dialects. But people have been deprived of the flexibility of reading because they have shallow knowledge. So problems like this arose very, very early. I'm going to draw your attention to another one that Imam Malik has made mention in his Muwatta. Imam Malik. Religion is not black and white. Show me from the Quran. Show me from the Hadith. People that cannot even spell Hadith, they say, show me from the Hadith. What kind of Hadith is this? Oof. Problems arose very early. We're going to speak about this from the Hadith in a minute. I'm just building the foundation. Imam Malik makes mention in his Muwatta, Imam Malik, that there was a lady who came to Hazrat Umar. So it was the tenure of Hazrat Umar radiallahu ta'ala. She came to Hazrat Umar radiallahu ta'ala and she says, look, I would like you to look at me. So Hazrat Umar looked at her. It was a young, beautiful lady. She says, my husband is mafqood anil khabar. Mafqood al khabar. I don't know where he is, gone. And I'm a lady who have desires. And if you don't give me a ruling pertaining to my marriage because I don't know where he is, I may fall into haram. Simple as that. I've got desires. Allah Almighty has created us with desires. We procreate. We have desires. So you have to give me a ruling. So whenever Hazrat Umar came across a contemporary issue, he used to call Ana Madinatul Ilm wa Aliyun Babuha. He used to call Hazrat Ali. He says, Hazrat Ali, you come here. Because the Prophet of Allah said, I am the city of knowledge and Ali is the door of that city. Now that's a topic in itself. We may speak about it. What does this door really mean? And which two doors open from that door? Topic in itself. But wa Aliyun Babuha, Ali is the door. So Hazrat Ali, you come here. Give us a ruling. How do we help this lady? Meaning that this case was never presented to Hazrat Umar before. He couldn't find it directly, explicitly from the Quran. He couldn't even find it from the Hadith. Because if it was in the Hadith, he will say, the Nabi of Allah said this is the ruling. They could not see it. Because it did not arise. So, oh Ali, tell me, what ruling do you give? So Hazrat Ali put his scholarship hat on, started thinking, and he said, all right, the ruling is she has to wait for 4 years. She has to wait for 4 years. And after 4 years, if the husband doesn't return, then we basically will give the fatwa, the ruling, that the marriage is fasakh, it is terminated. So 4 years pass. This is the hadith of Mutta. 4 years pass. The lady comes. She says, I have passed through the time of 4 years. I want to get married now. Hazrat Umar and Hazrat Ali sitting there. Fine. Fasakh nikah. They terminate the marriage. She goes and gets married. After some time, the first husband comes. It's a Bollywood movie. First husband comes. He sees his wife with another person. Goes, ye kya? What is happening up here? My wife with somebody else. He's furiated. He's angry. He's frustrated. He goes to Hazrat Umar radiallahu ta'ala. He says, my wife in Madinatul Munawwara with another person, blah, blah. He said, Khamosh, be quiet. Sit down. Whatever she did with our mashra, with our consultation. He said, by the way, where were you? What games were you playing? 4 years, even more than 4 years. Where have you been? Now, I'm not making this story. It's in the Mutta of Imam Malik. He says, jinns took me. Jinns picked me up. He said, what? He said, jinns took me. So I was traveling and the jinns, non-Muslim jinns, took me. So I was a captive of the jinns. A few days ago, I was praying. They allowed me to pray, the non-Muslim jinns. They allowed me to pray. So I was praying and a group of Muslim jinns were passing by. And they said, we got a Muslim brother who's a captive. So they fought with the non-Muslim jinns and they released him. So I've came back. I've just come back. There are no stories, it's true. So they released the fight. Muslims, Ghalib, dominated. Released me and I've come back. That's fine. Now Hazrat Umar stuck again. What ruling do we give? Called Hazrat Ali again. Come. Said, you gave that ruling of 4 years. Now the first husband has returned back. What happens? Problems. But the religion is fluid. It has a solution. Surah number 20, verse number 2. Taha, one of the names of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Taha, ma anzalna alayka al-Qur'ana litashqa. We have not sent down the Qur'an upon you to put you in difficulty. The Qur'an has come to give you ease. I use this word very often now. Chill out. Don't be so uptight. Drop the bazooka of haram. Bazooka, haram, 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 haram. There's nothing halal. Nothing is halal for us. Everything is a bid'ah. Everything is shirk. And everything is haram. This entire world has been made to serve us. We need to enjoy it. I'm telling you, in time to come, people may say, this is haram. Because it's in a bottle that has been made by a non-believer, so it's haram. How far do you go with this? So call Hazrat Ali. He said, Hazrat Ali, what's going on? So Hazrat Ali I was blown away with this ruling. So Hazrat Ali radiallahu ta'ala says, look, I gave the ruling and I stand by the ruling. But now the following ruling is, and he extracted from tayammum. He says that if water is not available, we call this ablution, we commit to dry ablution. Tayammum. But if water returns, dry ablution breaks. So he said the first husband was wudu, is water. Second husband is dry ablution. Water has returned, ablution breaks. So this lady has to return back to the first husband. You ruling? Yeah? Let's take it one step further. And then we'll stop on this and then we'll go to the true topic next week. All right? The foundation. So we're building the foundation. I'm giving you an understanding how things work. Let's come to modern time. Chicken. Machine slaughtered chicken. Let's talk about it in the light of all this. For 1400 years, right, 1400 years, chicken was slaughtered by the hand. That traditional method, Bismillahi Allahu Akbar. We were eating that chicken. Suddenly, the demand of chicken went through the roof. This method was not working. We couldn't keep up with the market. True? Couldn't keep up with the market. So now the discussion took place in the 1980s among scholars that to keep up with this market, we need to introduce a blade. So the blade is going to cut the chicken. That would increase the volume of chickens, and we will remain relevant in the market. But the problem is this halal or is this haram? So moving from this to move into looking at it and allowing the blade to do everything, can this be halal? Got it? All right. Let me pause there. If a judge has had a fight with his wife, and then he goes into the court and he sits down, and the first case that comes to him is a fight between a husband and a wife, what he has experienced a few moments ago at home, is it going to influence his decision making? He's a human being at the end of the day. So I'm telling you, as a very small student of Islam, there are different mindsets in the world in terms of giving rulings. There are some that will say no. They don't want to give an inch because they understand it and it is a right understanding. I'm not saying it's a wrong understanding. We're not going to entertain any build on upon this topic because we believe that the topic has been encapsulated, codified, put to the side, and there's no room for discussion upon it. So we're not going to open the door, because if we open the mindset, if we open the door, we can't close the door. Remember that. I want you to remember these words. If we open the door, we can't close the door. So they don't open the door. They don't entertain anything. So they have a mindset. So those kinds of scholars, they go into this meeting where they're going to speak about halal and haram, about this blade. Second group. The second group, they've gone on with the mindset, we have to make it halal. Because they may be looking at the business side of it. So they are looking for reasons to make it halal. They're going with a mindset to make it halal. So the entire study and research of Islamic literature is basically to make it halal. And the first group, they have gone with a mindset, same literature, to find that it doesn't become halal. Got it? Both go. Present the arguments. Now, the problem. You have to come to a conclusion. It's a council of imams representing the entire Muslim world. So they all come into that room. Now, at the end, they put their research. Some say it is not allowed, some say it is allowed. Now, the ones that are saying that it is not allowed, they went with the mindset that no, we can't open this door, so they have gone with their proofs. These people that went with the mindset that we have to make it halal, this is the need of the time, they give their proofs. Now there's a voting. That's how you do it. There's a voting. The people that gave the ruling that it is halal with evidence, their vote was stronger than those scholars that said it is haram. That's only part one. Got it? So they're outweighed. So that's mostly the subcontinent scholars outweighed, right? We can't all. So it is halal. Now the main problem starts. This is it. All right, the blade is okay. Now, who is going to speak about the conditions? Now we're going to have to speak about conditions. It's not just you put a chicken there and then they're just going around the chain and it's halal. There has to be conditions. All right, you've won now. You've got the ruling, it is halal. But those scholars that went with the mindset that it's going to be haram, their conditions are going to be very, very hard. I'm giving you an insight to scholarship. And those scholars that went with the mindset that it's going to be halal, their conditions are going to be very relaxed. That's what translates nowadays. So there's a group of scholars and people follow them, and that is all right. That is okay, no problem. They say every chicken has to be blessed. Every chicken has to be blessed. Every chicken has to be touched. Every chicken has to be pushed towards the blade. This ruling comes from which scholars? The scholars that didn't want the blade to be halal, but they were outvoted. So the conditions are very, very hard. The other group of scholars that went with proof from the Quran and the Hadith, same Quran and Hadith, they're not going to the Torah or the Injil, nothing like that. No. Quran and Hadith. They went with the mindset that it should be okay. Their conditions are very relaxed. I asked one scholar, I said, how did you allow it? And I'm going to stand up and show you. How did you allow the chicken that is cut by a blade to be halal when you're not touching it? Because we're comfortable with the man, sikeen in his hand and going like this. He said, haven't you seen in Pakistan? I said, what? Listen to this one. I've had 2 knee replacements, so I may drop down, but I'll try. I've seen this myself. People that have been to Pakistan, they will understand this. The guy has a knife here, and the chicken comes in his hand and he goes like this. Huh? No joke. I'm giving you evidence, how evidence is presented. The knife is here, not in the hand. You see this? Can I get a nod from people that are from Pakistan? I've seen this. And the chicken comes. So this is the body of the chicken, this is the head of the chicken, and then this is the neck. And he goes, Bismillah Allahu Akbar, Bismillah Allahu Akbar. Oh, he's not touching the knife. The leg is touching the knife, not the hands. So if that is okay, why not? See? Opening your mind a little bit. I said, all right. Scholars from this side, they say every chicken has to be touched. Every chicken has to be touched. These scholars say every chicken doesn't have to be touched. As long as the person is standing over the chickens. I'm not going to tell you what I believe in. All right? I'm just telling you the different opinions. But the person, as long as he's standing over the chicken. So one group says, touch every chicken. Bismillah, Allah Akbar. Bismillah, Allah, 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 Allah. This one says, so 10 chickens passed, I said Allah 10 times. This group that was relaxed, their conditions are relaxed. They say as long as my own pace, Allah, Allah, 20 chickens gone. All halal. As long as I don't stop, as long as I keep saying Allah, all chickens are halal. It doesn't matter how many. This is another opinion. I said, where did you get that from? You're going to be surprised. In the books of fiqh, traditional books, they say there's a big sword. Big sword. Let's say from that wall to this wall, big sword. I've got the muscles to pick it up, so let's say I've got a muscle like this. And there are 20 bakras, 20 ghanams, 20 sheep like this. I say, Bismillahi Allahu Akbar. Fuqaha say they're all halal. One Bismillahi Allahu Akbar, all halal. So right, that's one, all halal. He says, you're missing a point. I said, what point am I missing? He said that when the knife hits, it doesn't hit them simultaneously. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. If they're all halal in one hit, so when the blade is turned on in the morning, Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, that should be okay. See proofs. This is the evidence. I'm not saying it's right. Don't call me for that. But I'm just giving you an entry into scholarship. So what do we learn from today? Do not make the room of ibadat the means of fighting with one another. If anyone has proof, scholarship, proof, you don't like it, don't label the person. Don't impose yourself on somebody else. Don't say it is halal and haram. Say this is the opinion that I like. If you like this opinion, you follow it as long as you got scholars. Can I get a nod? That's the lesson for tonight. I've just come back from Umrah, I've got a sore throat, but we're over time. Inshallah, next week we'll get into the topic a bit deeper from the Quran and the Hadith, a little bit more. How does this all work? Allah Almighty keep us united. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.